Are there stories? Because now at this point you're so familiar with so many of them, you've told so many of these stories. Are there ones that stick with you that like you actually think about?
There's one actually. I will tell it to you if you want to hear it.
I do want to hear it.
Okay, so this one, I usually don't tell this one on interviews and stuff because it's pretty graphic. But I feel like this is a good environment to talk
This is all
about.
about graphic.
This is
Get
all
us
about
graphic.
it.
Add extra details.
Yeah. Okay. So off the coast of Scotland, about 7 miles off the coast of Aberdeen, Scotland, is this huge structure. It's called Magellan, and it's an offshore oil rig. And for those who don't know much about offshore oil rigs, the people who work on these rigs, who are known as roughnecks, they're doing arguably one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. I mean, these structures are like hundreds of feet off, the boiling water down below. It's constantly windy. All the structure is slick, like it's wet constantly. And, if you fall, you could fall literally hundreds of feet to the water or fall, down at one platform to the next where there's often not railings barring you from falling, 10, 15 feet below. It's just this really dangerous thing. And then on top of that, the actual drill that sits in the middle of these oil rigs, these massive structures, they almost look like office buildings out in the middle of the ocean. There are these drills that go straight down into the ocean to get the oil. And periodically, there's this thing called, I think it's called a blowout, where basically it explodes and there's really not even a reason for it. And there's nothing you can reasonably do to protect yourself. So these roughnecks who are like in these filthy, hot, like dangerous environments as this drill is pumping all this oil, it could literally just explode at some point. And if you're near it, you're done. Okay. So it's this unbelievably dangerous environment. Not to mention it's very austere. Like you're out in the middle of the ocean, miles from land. And so these roughnecks, like the downside is how dangerous it is. The upside is you get paid really well.
Yeah.
So like that's why people do it. And so typically the people who work these roughnecks, they work for like months at a time and then come home again. And so I think it was December of 2000, there was this guy named Gordon Moffat who was a roughneck. He was 41 and he was working on Magellan, this offshore oil rig off the coast of Scotland. And he was a mechanic. And so he didn't actually work on drilling the oil. His job was to basically maintain the drill. And he had done many tours, out at Magellan in particular. He'd stayed there for months at a time, come home. Like this is a guy who's a seasoned roughneck. And one thing you need to keep in mind about how these drills work is they basically drill 24/7, the drill itself. And at any point it stops drilling, like if there's an issue with the drill, the people who own the drill are losing a lot of money. It's very expensive to operate. And so this drill goes 24/7 until the oil runs out, which can be years at a time, but it must be maintained at all time. And so Gordon's main job was just at any moment while he's out at this rig, he could be called to do some sort of maintenance. And so he might have weeks where he does nothing, and sometimes he has 5 things to do in the middle of the night. So it's just sort of like the on-call job. That's Gordon's job. And so he finished up one of the basic routine maintenance things he had to do on this particular day. It was mid-December of 2000. And he goes back to his room. And so there's all these little bunks that are on the structure itself. He goes back to his room. He takes off his stuff. And then he suddenly gets a call saying that, hey, there's a new issue with the drill. This is the middle of the night. It's stormy outside. I mean, it's like a perfect setting for a horrible disaster, okay? He gets a call and it's like, hey, there's an issue with the drill. We need you to come back and fix the drill. I don't know the particulars of the issue, but apparently for Gordon, what he was being asked to do was relatively routine, but a little bit complicated. There was an issue where, imagine this drill is this long tube that kind of runs from the very top of the drill. And there's like a circular hole that kind of goes all the way down the platforms itself. The drill fits down through all of it and goes into the ocean. And periodically there'd be an issue with the drill itself where the issue was sort of like in between platforms. There's multiple platforms to the oil rig. And there'd be an issue where the mechanic, in this case Gordon, would have to directly access the drill, but he couldn't reach it from the platform he's standing on here. And if he went to the platform above, these are like mesh graded platforms, it's too far down to reach to it. So the only way to access this portion of the drill is to be put in a harness and basically lowered like in between platforms.
Almost like a window washer or something, right?
That's
like,
a great analogy. Yeah. Imagine a window washer, except they're on this drill. And so he's done this before. This is a routine thing. He goes out to the drill. There's all these guys that are standing on the platform that sort of sat right above where the issue was, which is down below, like 10 feet below them. And so he gets out there, and so the way that they run this this harness system is they have this thing called a mouse hole, which is, so there's like, imagine a huge platform that kind of expands the entire, space that is the platform, like the oil rig. It's the entire width and depth of the oil rig. And in the very center is like this big cutout, the circle where the drill fits right through it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't lower him through that space between the drill and the cutout, because the drill kind of wobbles around. You can get crushed between it. And so on every single platform, there's like 10 or 15 of them, they would cut these 10-inch by 10-inch holes that were sort of like 2-3 feet away from the central cutout, and they would lower their harnesses through those so that basically people like Gordon could access these inaccessible places
without
on the
being
drill.
in a situation where you get smashed.
So you're safe that way.
Yeah.
And so he goes to the platform. Again, it's nighttime. It's very windy. It's storming. And they're like, hey, it's right down there. And he's okay. So he goes down one level to the platform right below. You can see his colleagues, 20 feet above him on the platform right above. And he's like, all right, send down the harness. And so they feed this harness, just a 3-point harness that's connected to a metal rope or a line. And they put it right down through that mouse hole on the platform above him. And that metal line that the harness is connected to feeds all the way back up to this winch that's controlled by a winch operator that's, a couple platforms up in this, glassed in sort of like overlook where they can actually see the whole platform. They can see the folks on the upper platform. They can see sort of Gordon, but they sort of have eyes on everything. And so they feed this harness down through the mouse hole. It gets to Gordon, puts the harness on, and then he gives the thumbs up to the folks right above him. And then they, in turn, and they call out to the winch operator, like, hey, he's ready to go up. And again, this is routine for everybody.
Yeah.
So the winch operator hits start, and the winch slowly begins to retract. And slowly but surely, Gordon is lifted off the ground on the lower platform, and he's brought up, 10 feet or whatever it was, until he could access the section of the drill that he couldn't before. And he, waves to the guys at that point, says, I'm good. I can see what I need to do. So the guys above him, they in turn, they wave to the hoist operator, like, all right, stop it. He hits the button, it stops. And so now Gordon is where he is. He fixes the drill. It begins to work again. Everything's great. And so he signals to the guys above him, like, hey, I'm ready to go back down again, because he is done. And so they turn and they ask the winch operator to go ahead and lower him. And so the winch operator's like, okay. He hits the start button and then just kind of like starts looking off into space. Like, this is his only job, is literally pushing this button.
Yeah.
That's all he does. And so he's not really paying attention. He didn't realize that he had not reversed the settings of the winch, that instead of flipping it to now when he hits start, it lowers Gordon. He had left it in retract mode. And so when he hit start, the winch began to continue to raise Gordon up towards the platform above him where that mouse hole is. And so now he's not moving quickly. This is a slow moving winch. It's like, and it's like, 10 or 15 feet until he would even get to the platform above him. So it's not like, oh my God, stop the winch. It's more like, come on, dude. Come on, Bill. Like, what are you doing up there? And so the guys on the upper platform right above Gordon, they notice this. They turn and they're like, come on, dude. Like, you screwed it up.
Yeah.
But the guy doesn't hear them. And it's so windy and loud out, and he's not really paying attention that he can't hear any of the commotion, the hoist operator. He's just like not paying attention. And so after a couple of moments, the guys on the platform and Gordon, they start to realize like he doesn't know this is happening, and we can't get his attention. And he was several platforms above them. It'd be hard to get to him quickly.
Yeah.
And so they have this phone that's right nearby that radios up to the hoist operator. And so the guys are like, oh my God, he's not stopping. And Gordon by this point is starting to scream. And so one of them, the guys right above Gordon, they run to this phone, they grab it, they call, the hoist operator answers it. And he's like, stop the winch, it's going the wrong way. And so the hoist operator, he's like, oh my God. And he hits stop. He turns it and he begins to lower it, but nothing happens. Well, it was too late. So what had happened in the space of time between them realizing this wasn't stopping and going to the phone is Gordon had been pulled all the way up to right below the platform. And the only way he was going to go is through the mouse hole, which is a 10-inch by 10-inch hole. And the harness had no quick release on it. It was actually hooked to him. It was like somehow hooked to him in the back, but basically it was pulling from his waist. And so this 3-point harness that he can't get out of raised him up until his pelvis was pressed to the underside of this hole. And then slowly, as they finally got the guy on the phone, it pulled his pelvis through the hole. And so by the time the guy hit stop, the guy's spine pelvis and most of his torso had been ripped through. And unfortunately,
He
passed
made it?
away.
Oh,
And he made it.
wow.
This is a really uplifting story.
So this is the one you think about a lot.
I do, because what they said about Gordon is when he reached the underside of the hole, when the winch is about to pull him through, and he knows it.
He knows it.
And it's a graded platform. They're looking down. He had sprawled himself out, hands above him, feet below him, like trying to push himself away from the winch that's pulling him pelvis first into this small hole. And they watched as this dude is like doing everything he can to stop, as his spine broke and his pelvis was slowly pulled through the hole. And so ultimately so he died, and
did that guy get a bad mark at work? The winch operator?
They said, you didn't do a great job that night.
Dude.
You got to pick it up next time.
You're getting a 1 check mark next to your name.
You're not getting a 3, you're getting a 2.
Wow.
Bert and Tom, Tom and Bert. One goes topless while the other wears a shirt. Tom tells stories and Bert's the machine. There's not a chance in hell that they'll keep it clean. Here's what we call 2 bears, 1 cave.